Should I say Guten Morgen? And that's about all the German that I know. Although I was stationed here in the Army in 1982 to 83, but I was in the infantry, so we were out in the woods all the time, so I didn't get to see much. So now I'm taking a little vacation. So I spent almost 24 years with the California Highway Patrol, the majority of that working in and around the Golden Gate Bridge, both as an officer and a supervisor. And it was just a phenomenal place to work. You see a photo here, and I tried yesterday to convert this to kilometers, and I believe it's almost 3 kilometers long, and I think 67 meters from the roadway to the water. So quite a distance. And unfortunately, the Golden Gate Bridge, have any of you walked across it or driven across it? If you've driven across it, it's pretty neat. If you've walked across it, it gives you a whole new perspective of things. It's a lot of fun, it really is. But the bridge also has this very dark side to it. It's the #1 spot in the United States for loss of life to suicide. And I hate to even show this. We lose 25 to 60 people a year on that bridge. And that's not including the folks that we are able to get to that we take to local hospitals for mental health evaluations. It takes a heavy toll on us. Most of the time that we are able to get to someone, we will get them back over. Occasionally, we lose folks, and it breaks our heart, and it's very, very tough on us. Even though people think that we're cops, we're peace officers, and we're big and tough and all, it breaks our heart. It's really tough on us. So I want to share with you a little bit about mental illness at a global level. And some of this is just my opinion, actually. But traffic accident fatalities in the world in 2014, 1.25 million. Mental illness in the world, 450 million. And deaths by suicide. Now it's been reported, as Dr. O'Connor said, about 800,000. But I want you to remember that a number of these folks are lost, like at the bridge. Sometimes they jump and we lose them out to sea. So that estimate has been raised to about 1 million or so. Look at the difference from the traffic accident fatalities to those who suffer and die from suicide. Where does most of our money go? I know in the United States, so much more money is spent on traffic than mental illness. We have quite a ways to go. We are getting better. Most suicides, as we know, are firearms, suffocation, and poisoning. Those are the big ones. When I'm working on that bridge and I see someone that is on the rail, they're over the rail. If you've walked across that bridge, you see a 4-foot tall pedestrian rail. Over that is like an I-beam, a 32-inch piece of steel. And that's where most folks stand, contemplating if they're going to jump or not. So when I'm speaking with them, almost every single person has these three. They suffer from a mental illness, just like Dr. O'Connor said, about 90%. With when they're on the bridge, it's even higher. I ask every single person, have you been taking any medication? Not for mental health, but any kind of medication, even aspirin. 99% of the time, if they have been taking a medication for mental illness, they've stopped it. That's a really big factor, at least a month prior. And most folks feel as if they're a burden to their family, to their friends. But when I ask them, have they talked to their family or friends about it, they say no, that they haven't. Listening skills are absolutely critical, and it's what you do. We talk about active listening skills. What we learn in school, typically, I know in the United States, are arithmetic, reading, and writing. Not listening. Not listening. I have a simple math quiz for you with you as a bus driver. You can do this on your fingers. You really can. It's just very simple. A bus travels 3 blocks and picks up 3 people. That same bus travels 2 blocks and picks up 2 people. Same bus travels 1 more block and picks up 1 person. How many blocks did that bus travel? 6, if you got it right. All right? Ein, sein, drei, vier, funkt, 6. How many people did that bus pick up? Same thing, 6. Now, how old was that bus driver? Anyone. Anyone. I wrote a book, and I'm going to give you a copy of the book if you get it right. Remember the first, you have it. The first thing I said was, I have a simple math quiz for you with you as the bus driver. You are the bus driver. Don't worry, my kids told me that, and I fell for that also. That's okay. If you didn't get it, that's all right, because 4 out of 3 people don't understand percentages. And I'll see if you get that one. Our listening modes. Basically 3 listening modes. Competitive, to where you're outdoing the other person. You're trying to top their story. You're not really paying attention to them. It's more of self-promotion. Not good at all. Passive listening. You're there, you care, but you're not providing any feedback. You're like a lump on a log. You're just sitting there. The best, active listening. You're actively engaging that individual. You have your cell phone turned off. You're at a place giving them your full attention. You're providing feedback, things like minimal encouragers. Wow, is that right? Really? Paraphrasing, summarization, showing that person that you are there and you care about them. Very, very important. We take a lot of pictures down on that Golden Gate Bridge. I rode a motorcycle, and we would go in the parking lots, and the little kids would come up, and we'd put the kids on the bike, and they'd take pictures, and it's a lot of fun. You meet people from around the world every single day. So just your average picture. That's the same guy. This is Kevin Berthia, and I met him on the darkest day of his life. I received a call of a man on the sidewalk talking on his cell phone, saying that he was going to jump off the bridge. So I responded on my motorcycle down the sidewalk, and as I came up around the North Tower area, I see what looks like to be the person they're describing to me. He's on the sidewalk on the cell phone. So I park my motorcycle about 75 feet away, and when I get off my bike, it looks like he looks right at me, and he jumps over the rail. I don't know how he did it, but he landed on that little bitty pipe. Very, very small pipe. You can see where his feet are. I ask permission. I try to empower people. It's very important to me to try to do this. When I walk up, I ask them, "Hi, I'm Kevin," and I don't introduce myself real formally. They can see I'm in the uniform, what I call the monkey suit. So I tell them, it's not, "Hi, I'm Kevin Richard Briggs, Sergeant with the California Highway Patrol." Who cares? "Hi, I'm Kevin. May I or can I come up and speak with you?" I want them to allow me to come up and speak with them. Very empowering. He wanted nothing to do with me for a good 15, 20 minutes. "Don't you come a step further or I'm going to jump." He wanted nothing to do with me. It took a while, and he finally allowed me to come up and speak with him. He was suffering. He had mental illness. He was prescribed medication, but he stopped taking it. His adopted parents, he was adopted, his adopted parents divorced when he was around 13 or so, and he thought he was the cause. His birth mother wanted nothing to do with him. He had a newborn baby. He thought if he had a family, things would get better. He had a newborn child who was born 2 months premature. So he had over $200,000 in medical bills, and he had just lost his job. All this took a toll, and he spiraled down. So he found himself up on the bridge. We were there for 90 minutes, like that. Most of the time, I was kneeling down because I want them to look down at me. It doesn't do me any good to look here like a judge and to look at him. So I'm on my knee. I want them to look down at me. Very empowering. So he told me all of these things. All he wanted was for someone to listen. After 90 minutes, he decided on his own to come back over that rail. And I don't grab folks or anything else. I want them to come over on their own because it takes a lot of courage to come back and face all those issues that you had. I'm not going to be able to solve them, and I'm not going to lie. It takes a lot of courage to come back. That's also very empowering. And when you look in their eyes when they come back, they're scared, they're still frightened, but there's a glimmer of hope. It looks like a little baby's eyes. It's really, really neat. So he came back over. I congratulated him, and then as I do every single person, because I want to learn off of every single person, what did I do that was wrong or bad, and what did I do that was good? He just told me one thing. He goes, you listened. You let me speak, and you listened. That's all. That's all that he wanted, was somebody to listen to him. Some years later, we reconnected, and he's doing very, very well. We were invited, and mind you, we live in California. We both live in California. We were invited to go across the country to New York City and be part of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, part of their dinner where he presented me with an award. But he went up and he spoke, and he's doing much, much better. And it wasn't because Kevin Briggs saved him. I'll be honest with you, I don't think I've saved anyone. Maybe I was a conduit in a very bad day. I want them folks to save themselves by really thinking about what's going on. And now he's doing wonderfully just because I listened, just as you folks are doing. The same thing. Sometimes we don't know how many folks we actually get to help, but they're out there, and there's many. We do lose some. We lose some, and it breaks our heart. I've watched folks go to the water. I've pushed other officers away because I don't want them watching them go into the water. What you see, the last part of them, is what's going to be in your head forever, and it haunts you. But there's reasons why I do things, and one is the water. I don't want to lose a body. We've lost many bodies in that water. It's very, very treacherous. But to resiliency, first we think about the people that we've helped. We do lose some, but the vast majority of folks we help, and that helps me and others to continue on. Resiliency, the ability to bounce back, to overcome the unexpected, and a belief that one can learn and grow as a result. If we look at resiliency like water, when water's heated up and it's fluid, it can take whatever you want. You can hammer it, you can do whatever you want. It comes right back. You take water and freeze it, now it's ice, and you hammer it, it breaks all apart. So we try to be like that, like water, resilient, to be able to come back. I'm hoping you have this. In America, we call it what's in your toolbox. It's what's in your head and what's in your gut, things that you can pull out of you when things go bad, or tricks of the trade, so to speak. So what's in your toolbox that you could bring out and use for resiliency? Mental, and we talk about focus, outlook, perspective. Emotional, looking at the ability to react to stressful situations, the physical, going to the gym, eating right, being prepared, home and work balanced. And finally, spiritual, which is so important to so many folks. I read that after 9/11 in America, when the two towers were knocked down, spiritual resilience was the number 2 thing that people said got them through that. It's huge. I have one more story for you, if you please. I am divorced with 2 boys, Kevin Jr. and little Travis. And Kevin Jr., he is 15 years old. I was afforded the ability, the blessing, to travel around and speak about my personal life and experiences on the Golden Gate Bridge. So the last few years, I've been traveling a lot. Well, I came home flying back to San Francisco Airport one time, and I turned on my cell phone when we landed, and Travis, the younger brother, he's 2 years younger, I see a message from him. And I thought it would be, "Welcome home, Dad. Stop by our house on the way to yours." But it wasn't. It was little Travis, and he goes, "Dad, you need to get here quick. Kevin broke an iPad. He's in the backyard, and he says he's going to kill himself." Well, I said, "Okay." I got in my car, and I started driving up to their house, and it's about an hour drive. Along the way, I'm getting a few texts from Travis, and he's saying, "Dad, you need to get here quick, but when you do, say nice things to Kevin. Don't be angry." This is coming from a real little guy, so I thought that was cute. So I get to the house, and in the house I see my ex-wife, my sister, little Travis, and Kevin Jr. is in the backyard in complete darkness, just pacing back and forth. So I watch him for just a little bit, and then I walk outside and I put my hand on his shoulder, and I call him baby boy, which he doesn't like. But I go, "Hey, baby boy, what's going on?" And he breaks down crying, very, very hard, loud, like he could barely stand. So we stay in that backyard in the darkness. We go sit down for quite a while. And he's very truthful to me. I want to see what's going on in his life. I was gone a lot. I missed out on a lot of things I didn't realize he was going through. Being divorced and him being the oldest son, still being very young, I was telling him, "You're the man of the house when I'm gone." That was too much for his little head. He was too young. I had not discussed my divorce with him. He thought it was his fault, when it was absolutely not his fault. I was ashamed and embarrassed. I did not discuss it with him. I didn't think I was giving him pressure for good grades in school. He's about a 3.7 GPA, about A- or so. He says, "Dad, yes, you were." So I was, simple as that. And also some kids in school started smoking the marijuana. You can see there, he's a soccer player, and we travel all around, sometimes out of state, for him to play soccer. He goes all over the state playing soccer. That's his life, his soccer. So he wanted nothing to do with marijuana, nothing to do with drugs, and he knows what I did as a cop. He wants to be healthy and do his game. All this stuff was too much for him, way too much, and he had enough. So I got him through the night, and we decided to go see a counselor. We set up the appointment. On the day of the appointment, I take him, we get to the office, and I ask him, "Baby boy, do you want me in the room with you?" He goes, "Yes, Dad." I asked the counselor, "Sir, would you like me in the room? Is it okay?" He goes, "Yes, sir, come on in." So we go in, and I want you to imagine the counselor sitting here. I am sitting in a chair on the side, and Kevin Jr. is sitting there facing him. So I am facing this way and watching them connect. The counselor asks him all sorts of general questions. Are you feeling safe at home? All these just general questions. And then he digs into him a little bit more, and he goes, "Well, if you were gone, don't you think your parents would be sad?" And baby boy says, maybe 5 to 7 years, and then they'd be okay. I thought that was strange. That's the impact that I have on him, 5 to 7 years. So I asked a psychologist later on, and they said he was young, 13. That's as far as they can see into the future. So that was very interesting. So he continues on, and he digs deeper into little Kevin, and he asks him, have you ever cut yourself on purpose? And I was a little taken back by it. And little Kevin does this. Like he stuck himself with a pointed object or a knife or something. And it blew me away. And it's only now that I can tell the story. It doesn't happen very, very good. I had to look away from him. My eyes were tearing up. What it is, we call, in America, if you call here, we call them cutters. People who cut themselves on purpose. They do that for a number of reasons. One, that's a way of communicating for them because they can't talk, they can't say what's going on. They're in so much pain, it releases endorphins that mask the pain. There's a whole number of reasons why people cut. I've seen a lot of cutters, unfortunately. Women will carve, I'm fat, into their thighs. Guys will cut their arms way up. People do it for a variety of reasons, and it's very bad. To see that in my family, my own boy, as a cutter, it broke my heart. I just couldn't believe it. He continued on, and I don't like barriers. I'll go into this deeper when I talk later on, but for me, that doctor should have came around here, sat with my boy, right with him, and talked with him without that barrier of that desk. I don't like barriers. He then keeps going with Kevin Jr., and he goes, you're not going to commit suicide, right? What a crappy way of asking that question. He didn't ask him a question, he told him. And of course, as an adult, when you tell that to a child, of course they're going to say no. You're not going to throw that rock at your sister, right? Whatever it may be, of course they're going to say no. You answered it for him. Now, I had told the counselor what I did for a living, so he knew what I did. So after he asked that, he looks over at me, and I'm on the side, and he goes, did I cover all the bases? And I go, I don't know. Did you? You have all these degrees up here. I got nothing. It was a terrible experience. Terrible experience. I felt so bad for this young guy. So when this was over, I asked to speak with the counselor by himself. And I was very lucky that he did not have an ego. Egos destroy communications. They destroy negotiations. It's the number one thing that we try to stay clear of. So I told him, I wasn't too impressed with how you asked that question. You're not going to commit suicide, right? Of course he's going to say no. How about, have you been having thoughts of killing yourself? A much, much better way of asking that question. Let him answer it. You basically answered it for him because maybe you don't know what to do. Many people don't know what to do when someone says yes. Oh my God, now they freak out. So I learned a lot. We actually stayed with that counselor, and little Kevin Jr. is doing much, much better now. But because, and I want to tell you this, like all you folks here who are helping so many people, please take some time for yourself and your families. We get so wrapped up in work and everything that we do that we miss things. I almost lost my little boy because I was trying to help others and doing all these different things. I missed what was going on at home. So I personally want to stand here and thank each and every one of you for what you do. It's fantastic. Please take care of yourself and your family. Thank you very much.